Hey folks, hope you're doing well. Welcome to today's edition of NDD, brought to you by FanArch. I'm Pete Mulroy, and by now we all know about the incident that took place earlier this month concerning Irish head coach Marcus Freeman. And while the situation took on greater life this week, I did want to wait for as much information to be released before diving into and discussing it. In short, in case you missed it, Freeman was accused of battery at the beginning of January after an alleged altercation took place at a wrestling tournament his son Vinny was participating in. An assistant coach for the New Prairie High wrestling program, a guy by the name of Chris Flieger, said Freeman assaulted him at the event. Almost immediately after this official report went public, the University of Notre Dame stood tall for their head football coach, as you'd expect, and they denied the claims. The university also noted in their own police report that Freeman and his wife Joanna were removing Vinny after the match because he was verbally accosted, according to them, during and after the conclusion of said match. And while that was great, because Flieger did file a police report, we knew more information would come out. That happened yesterday with the releasing of more info, including a video. To no surprise, said video evidence from the event showed basically nothing. The video, which was frustratingly grainy, which is just mind-blowing in 2026, but which surrounded by tech, and all we've got is a wide shot of a grainy video, showed that a, quote, touching may have taken place between both parties. There was nowhere near anything that gave the state reason to file criminal charges. The state referred to it as an inadvertent touching, looked like it took place, but that doesn't count as, quote, sufficient evidence to bring criminal charges, which I think we all know. For me, this all seemed absurd from the beginning, and I'm glad we now have the evidence we need. The video shows, again, pretty much zilch. All right, no criminal charges are being filed, as it should be, and Coach Freeman and his family can move on to much more important aspects of their lives. I think if pressed into the same situation or put in the same situation, I think we would all appreciate just being able to, all right, this is nonsense, it's BS, let's move on, it's handled, let's go. Quite honestly, if that were my kid and he was in fact getting verbally torn down like that, especially at the conclusion of a match, I'd want him out of there too. Too often coaches, and unfortunately parents for that matter, make themselves a bigger part of a game or a contest more than they should. It happens and it's wrong. Every single time it happens and it's wrong. You should want to win as a coach, right? Don't get into any event to lose, and you should want to be passionate, but tearing a kid down repeatedly does nothing. Just makes you look weak, quite honestly. That's not to say you need to treat young athletes with kid gloves. Tough love can toughen them up, and quite honestly, some kids just need it. But it clearly looks like it was way over the top here, and quite honestly, wildly inappropriate. Now for Marcus Freeman, he can just move on. And switching gears a little bit, but remaining with Freeman, we all know the NFL connections and rumors aren't going to stop. That's the price you pay, so to speak, for being excellent at your job, in this being college football. And while Freeman recently had his contract with the Irish sweetened, if you will, while also publicly indicating via social media he was looking forward to, quote, running it back in 2026 and beyond, that reportedly hasn't stopped teams with head coaching vacancies around the National Football League from keeping tabs on the Irish boss. Freeman was linked to openings with the Giants and Titans over the past few months, with both organizations still in the market for a new head coach. Now you've got a handful of other jobs open as well. That includes, among the Giants and the Titans, the Raiders, the Ravens, Browns, and Falcons. It does make sense that teams would remain intrigued by a guy who recently turned 40 and posts a 43-12 record across 4 full seasons in his first go-around as a major program leader, with also, by the way, a berth in a national title game. This, of course, does not mean Freeman is going to ultimately vote for the NFL, at least for now. As I've said on past episodes, which again is something you all know, I'm not telling you anything new, the noise concerning other high-level coaching jobs in college and ones in the NFL aren't going to go away. They're just not. Marcus Freeman has said time and again that, yes, he's incredibly thankful and grateful to be in the position he's in. He's also fully aware that the success of this football program as a collective is the reason, or a big part of the reason, he's garnered various degrees of interest. He's a talented guy. He's an immensely remarkable guy and a phenomenal football coach. We know that. So this comes as no surprise. Whether it was LSU, Florida, Penn State recently on the college level, or the Giants, Bears, and Titans in previously and recent NFL cycles, good coaches are going to be identified. They're going to be singled out. Pete Bavacqua knows he has a great football coach, and he's committed to making sure Marcus Freeman always knows how valued and appreciated he is. The connections and rumor mills won't stop. I think we all understand that. For now, all Notre Dame Nation can continue to do is be thankful that we've got a guy leading the charge of the football program like Marcus Freeman, who has surrounded himself with an unbelievable cast of coaches and assistants. Over the next few days now, just dipping back into the portal, I'll get into a bit more about the players who committed to the program this week and today. Some more happenings that took place. I want to begin with a huge addition to the Irish defensive line from Monday. Keon Keeley, spoke about him a little bit, who again was committed to Notre Dame out of high school before ultimately flipping to Alabama, returns to South Bend after 2 seasons with the Crimson Tide. Last season, kid from Tampa, appeared in 7 games, 13 tackles, 3 sacks, but he really began to dial up the intensity down the back end of Bama's season, which included their CFP win over Oklahoma, where he grabbed 4 tackles and a sack. Now, you've got a bunch of guys that have entered the portal up front. Josh Burnham, probably the most impactful one. So you knew Notre Dame was going to be in need of productivity, depth, and value on that front. Enter Keeley, someone who brings good versatility from the perspective that he can play inside and on the edge. His athleticism should really be on full display under Chris Ash and Charlie Partridge. Not to mention a change of scenery after 2 relatively quiet seasons in Tuscaloosa, and not to mention being with a top-tier coaching staff, could just be what he needs to pop out from a productivity perspective. If he's able to become the impact player he was expected to be as a 5-star out of high school, then Marcus Freeman and company are going to be doing backflips, as are all of us. The Irish are immensely talented up front. But again, the unit is relatively inexperienced. Keeley's veteran insight, 2 seasons from a power in Alabama, including in the recent college football playoff where he played well, are going to be big all by itself when you bring that experience in. Add in a high level of play, this Irish defensive line could then truly become a force in college football. This was a big get. It was a great get and one of significance. You knew what Notre Dame was trying to identify up front and in different areas at wideout. They've done that. Back end of the defense, they've done that. Defensive line, they've done that. And right on cue to wrap today's show, following up their massive Monday, if we can call it that, the Irish picked up a commitment late from former Pitt defensive lineman Francis Brew. That came across late last night on Tuesday. The number 7 rated defensive lineman in the portal, that's as per 24/7. Brew is now linking back up with Charlie Partridge, who he played under in the Steel City. Visiting South Bend at the end of last week, Brew loved what he saw and ultimately elected to transfer to Notre Dame, even after a self-described great visit to Tennessee. So the Irish beat out a legitimate SEC side. Partridge was the one who initially recruited Brew to Pittsburgh. And this reunion in South Bend is undoubtedly adding even more fire, pressure, and athleticism to what is really shaping up to be, as we just talked about Keeley, right? An unbelievably gifted defensive front for Freeman, Partridge, and Ash. 6'2", 280-pounder, appeared in 13 games last season, 12 starts, 36 tackles, 7 TFLs, a sack, and a forced fumble. All right, that's a good stat line. He's also the type of guy, is Brew, who can be disruptive in the opposition's backfield, which is a staple of the Partridge system. You want to create that chaos, get in the backfield, blow up the line of scrimmage, and just cause utter disruption to the quarterback and the backfield mates behind him. That's what Partridge's defensive lines do. Guys like Keeley and specifically Brew, who knows it as well as anybody, are going to be a big part of implementing that with sustainability. Simply put, this is an absolute undeniable match made in heaven, and more proof that Marcus Freeman can reel in the big fish on the high school level and via the portal. Late start, yes, but look what they've done in just less than 72 hours. So Keeley and Brew were among the big wins for ND this week, and I'll get into a little bit more about the other newest members of the Fighting Irish, at least right now. Former Ohio State wideout Quincy Porter, Oklahoma State and Colorado, former corner DJ McKinney, and former Michigan State DB Jaden Sanders. I'll talk about them more as the rest of the week progresses. For now, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy it, stay safe, and as always, go Irish.